Welcome to Poker Market, making poker more efficient.
Hey everyone, how are we doing today? This is James Sweeney, aka Splitsuit, and welcome back to another video. And this video is going to be called 50 No Limit Leak Finder. What we're going to do is go through a 50 No Limit database that I was sent and talk about how to run filters, how to find leaks, how to patch those leaks, and ultimately how to get more out of our poker tracking software. In this video, I am going to be using PokerTracker 4, but the concepts will still work if you're using Hold'em Manager 1 or 2, or if you're using PokerTracker 3 still, or even if you're using any of the free pieces of software. So long as you can run filters, you can customize reports, and pull up hands, you'll definitely get something out of this video. So the goal in this video is to teach you how to run those filters. If you've never done this before, this will definitely be very, very helpful and help you get more out of your database. But also, for those of you that have run your own filters and do analyze your own play, this will definitely help you as well as far as giving you some extra areas to look into and also teach you how to run some of the filters that will bring up more detailed hands and possibly allow you to find more detailed and specialized leaks. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it, start having some fun, and talk about finding leaks in our database. So this is the database we're going to be looking at, and again, this was sent to me, so these are not my hands, and it's a sample size of roughly 60,000 hands, down about 1.6 thousand, losing at 5.3 BB per 100. So definitely some significant loss in this database, and even if there was some run bad here, I'm assuming that this is still quite a bit of leakage in this person's game, and we would definitely want to put some serious time and effort into it. So whether you're losing, whether you're winning, whatever, this video should still help, but hopefully we'll be able to find quite a bit of loss for someone who's down roughly 30 buy-ins and 60,000 hands. And these hands were played at full ring, and even still, the gap between the VPIP and PFR is still way too large. And just for the record, if you play 6-max, this video will still work. Some of the aim points will be a little bit different. So for instance, the loss rate from the blinds will be different between full ring and 6-max, but how to run filters, what to look for, ultimately the same between full ring and 6-max. And same concept if you're playing, say, mid-stacking or capping or something like that. It's still going to work for you, but some of the stat aim points are going to be a little bit different, so keep that in mind. And this video is not specific to 50 nor to PokerStars, so if you play on another site or you play 25 no limit, the concepts will still carry over. If you play a little bit higher, I did a database analysis on a 100 no limit student, so if you're interested, you might want to check out that video. And other than that, we'll just jump right into this and start having some fun. I'm sure we'll be able to find quite a bit of leakage. I actually really haven't explored this database at all yet, so we'll just kind of explore it fresh, talk about what we look for, and have some fun. So the first thing I like to do is check this out by position. And I keep my position report very, very specific to me, so I have all the stats that I like in here that I use as a very basic default. And this is what we're looking at. So we have position, button on top, blinds on the bottom, and there's a couple things that I'm first looking for. First and foremost is blind loss rate, and then second is kind of positional ramp. And when I talk about positional ramp, I mean that in two ways. First and foremost, that we're playing more hands from middle position than early, more hands from the cutoff than middle position, blah, blah, blah. And then I also want to make sure that we are winning more from middle position than early position, more from the cutoff than MP, etc., etc. So in this situation, you notice that we have kind of a weird breakdown in terms of win rate. We have 5, 10, 6, 8. So we're definitely not winning anywhere near enough from the button and cutoff, and that would be the first place that I would want Hero to really consider looking to change his game and make some very quick changes. And Hero is kind of calling a decent amount from, well, most positions. I mean, if we look, there's a pretty big gap between most numbers, and this is his call 2-bet preflop, and notice that he's doing it roughly 12% from the button. Now, at full ring, I tend to cold call significantly less, unless, of course, I'm playing in a game with a lot of info, but ultimately, most players would fare better if they cold call a little bit less at full ring. I tend to keep mine at full ring close to like 4 to 6%. So I think 8.88 is definitely on the higher side of the spectrum, but we'll run some filters and see if we can find any loss there. And then the other thing that I'd like to mention is the loss rate. So the blind loss rate at this point is roughly negative 102, 103. and that is very, very, very high. Our aim point is negative 60 BB per 100. If you're running this in the big BB per 100, then that would be negative 30. But this is just PokerTracker BB per 100. So the aim point is negative 60 here, aggregate between the big and small. And if you actually look at how much this comes out to in real money, Hero is down roughly 3.4K doing his blind play the way he has been, whereas if he were at the negative 60 point, then he would actually be saving himself about 1.4 thousand. So that alone is almost the entirety of his loss rate problem. So we're definitely going to pay a lot of attention to the blinds, and if you're playing 6 max, aim point from the blinds usually going to be somewhere between like negative 40 to negative 45 BB per 100. So if you're finding some really enormous losses from there, make sure to keep that in mind. But also make sure to keep sample size in mind. If you're running this kind of analysis on your own database, I usually suggest doing it with no less than like 40,000 hands. You can do some sort of analysis at like 20,000 hands, but it's not going to be nearly as useful just because you haven't seen enough hands at that point. You haven't been able to play enough samples out, and thus your win rate there is definitely not going to be the truest, and thus I wouldn't really use that for really in-depth analysis. You can use it for basic analysis, but not in-depth stuff. So this is a sample size that definitely tells us that Hero is losing his ass from the blinds and would definitely want to put some time and effort into that. So like I said, we're keeping an eye on that throughout this and kind of see if there's anything he's doing weirdly from the blinds, such as calling too much, completing too much. I mean, he definitely has a pretty damn high VPIP from the small blind, which I'm guessing is definitely not helping, and also his attempt to steal is very, very small from the small blind. So those two things alone would kind of hint to me that he needs to do some serious work in the small blind especially, but even from the big, I think some work is definitely needed. Now, if we look at the other stats that I have on here, first and foremost, attempt to steal. His overall is 37, which can be good, can be bad. It's really situational and really dependent on how good a player is post-flop and also the kind of games they're playing in. Really tight games, really loose games, definitely going to influence the overall attempt to steal. But he has a really weird breakdown here. A typical breakdown would be, say someone's attempt to steal is 30. Then that means that from the cutoff, it's usually going to be about 2/3 of that, so 20. From the button would be about 1 out of 1, so about 30%. And from the small blind, would be 4/3, so about 40%. So he definitely has a very weird breakdown here in terms